Well, hello and welcome everybody. I am Kate Bates, joined by whiteboard queen herself, Anna Russell. I only half say that positively, Anna. We'll get into that later, actually. Dave Toll and I had a bit of fun with that. We are here for race 5, week 5 in this ZRL season 3, 21-22. Anna, tonight we've got a team's time trial. Now, we have had every format under the ZRL sun so far this season. Scratch racing, points racing, new first across the line and fastest through segment formats. We've kind of had it all. I feel like the team's time trial may be a relief for some, where they can just focus on riding hard and not having to worry too much about all of the other things going on.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I do find the TTT slightly relaxing. I'll be racing it tomorrow, and I think, if you're not feeling great, you can kind of rein it in a little. You don't need to absolutely drill it off the front. It's not like your teammates are going to drop you, hopefully, if you're in a good team. But yeah, it's a quite a nice format, I think. Good for the team morale, good for the team building. And I've got to say, an interesting course that we've got tonight as well. Figure 8 on Watopia. So we haven't been to Watopia for a little bit. We've been checking out the new Mercury Islands and all around the show. But yeah, this is a lot trickier than the first one. Couple of climbs. We start with the Zwift KOM reverse and then go into the Zwift KOM proper. So some pretty meaty hills, I've got to say, out there on the course. But shall we hear from our good mate, Cy Bradley, about what he thinks?
Yeah, let's
Zwifters, welcome to downtown Watopia for the second team time trial so far this season. The first one in London was all about power. This one is all about power and technical ability, knowing the course and getting your riders around this technical course as quickly as possible. 3 power-ups today. We've got the aero, the draft and the feather. We're on the figure of 8 course. The first technical part of this stage is here at the foot of the hilly KOM reverse. It pitches up quite steeply as we head towards those iconic statues and head right. It then rolls until we descend the other side back into Watopia. Then we've got the first passing of the S's. Again, rolling technical section. The challenge is to keep all 6 riders together at this stage. And then we come back here in the opposite direction to the hilly KOM forward. Ascend this first part together, get yourselves over the top, and then it's all about ramping that speed up and driving it home. We're then going to take the final passing of the S's, driving it home through these rollers as hard as we can for the final few minutes of this ride before we take that right hand turn and this flat road towards the finish line, back here and down my town Watopia. Dig deep, stay focused and ride on.
I'd probably add one more thing to that, Anna. Dig deep, stay focused, try not to spew. I think it's a real concern on this kind of team control course.
Oh, I love it.
And just to clarify, there's no power-ups. I think Cy may have thought there have been, because there have been in some previous TTTs, but not tonight.
Yes, I think it is a last-minute removal of the power-ups. I don't know if there was pressure on WTRL that people wanted a true, pure TTT, or whether they just thought they'd mix it up and keep everyone on their toes. We are down now with the women's BCAT, so we will head there. We're on board with TBR Smile On. They've been really rocketing up I was going to say the charts, I guess the league table. Maybe they sing a little bit as well, but
I'm sure they could. Well, it's the voice season here in Australia. I don't know if it is in New Zealand as well. And, perhaps you've got a little bit of voice envy or something. They could do well. It would be an interesting act.
No, you know me, Kate. I just
Especially
watch
with all their names. Don't you
I just
think?
watch.
Like they could come up with a good girl group.
They could. You know me though. I just watch YouTube videos on shipwrecks. So don't actually watch. I don't have time for the voice. There's too many shipwrecks out there that I need to watch videos on. So I'll leave the voice to you.
I'm not one to judge. Well, and I mean, look, for those viewing from home, every now and again you get a bit of an insight into Anna and I away from cycling, and Anna has just admitted to watching shipwreck videos. For me, I am into pool renovation videos and lawn mowing videos. So there we go. We've given ourselves away, and if anybody in the comments has any good tips or accounts for us, please pass that on. Anna, it's a little bit of a mess here through this section for TBR, but we do know that they're a robust enough team that they often will have a few gaps open up, but they communicate really well, and it usually comes back together pretty well.
Yeah, I think they should be okay. It looks like they're rolling with the sort of 1, 2, 3 leadership on the front with the 3 on the back. They have actually sent me, as they always do, their cocktail for this evening. This is an interesting one, actually. There is a cocktail called the Figure Eight. Dry vermouth, apricot brandy. God, that sounds terrible. Apricot brandy. Oh
Yes,
my
it does.
God, I
Yeah,
couldn't think of
that's not
anything
really to my
worse.
liking.
Blanco tequila, a dash of orange bitters, a twist of orange peel. Oh God, I'm not into that at all. I've got to say, it
Oh, look, I'm
sounds
sitting
atrocious.
here with a herbal tea, so fair to say that that's not really on my radar tonight. But it sounds kind of bougie, if I may. A bit of a fancy cocktail there. Who was that?
That's this team here, TBR. So every week Lucy
Which
is down.
rider? Didn't they have a cocktail per rider?
No, that's just their whole team. They've added another fun fact is there's actually something called the Figure Eight method, and it's a cardio training program based on Latin dance moves. Just as a bit of fun
Is
fact
it your
for you.
hips and pelvis that are doing the figure eight? Is that what it is?
Who knows?
Some visuals for everybody playing from home.
Oh man, I'm not putting anything up on that one. No way. But TBR is looking very good here. They're 79 points. 3 points there. There was some quick math from me. That's terrible adding. 3 points ahead of the AHDRL Bullets, who we will see just behind, looking resplendent, the Magenta Train. And if I'm not mistaken, are they all? They're all on Canyon bikes. And wait, this looks phenomenal, doesn't it? Look at it.
I like that.
No, they've done well.
Emoji Anna.
Look at this.
Police Anna. They do. They look very good.
Matching shoes, matching socks. The bikes all have parts that match their kit. Phenomenal. AHDRL.
If I could have one slight negative, and only, in the quest for self-improvement, Michelle has chosen speed over fashion here to go with the disc wheel.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you have a foot in either camp there because you are also very considered about the bike choice. So I'm not sure. That's a good question for you, Anna. At what point do you think fashion is worth the compromise?
I mean, as my race team knows, fashion always trumps speed. Always. I'd rather lose looking good than win looking terrible.
Oh, look, I like that. That's a bit of a motto for life.
Isn't it?
I wonder if your young boys will pick up on that.
And this is why you're the Olympian and not me, because I don't think that's quite the motto, is it?
Well, look, I can tell you from we did on the Anzac Classic, if that was only last week, I think, we were talking about how beautiful the Silver Fern jersey looked. And I can tell you that Olympic outfits over the years, the Silver Fern is far more reliable than the different shades of green and gold that the Australian kit designers have come up with. That would be fair to say. You're, of course, very proud to wear it. However, at my first Olympics, you could tell which team members did or didn't have tattoos on any part of their body thanks to the skin suits. So it didn't leave a lot to the imagination. I think fashion police Anna would have.
I would have been right there on the sideline throwing out the down thumb.
Yes. You don't strike me as someone that's heavily tattooed, Anna.
I've got a couple of tattoos.
I was about to say, I think we've given enough personal information away between the lawn mowing and the shipwreck tonight.
There we go.
Let's not overwhelm people.
I did actually want to pick your brains though. We've recently had a time trial in the men's racing in real life, the Tour of Romandie, where one of your countrymen actually definitely blew a foo-foo valve near the end of that course, Rowan Dennis.
Yes, Mr. Rowan Dennis.
You're looking at this kind of course tonight. You're looking at that kind of course. You got some flat and then a big uphill component. How do you pace that?
Well, and I do think that it certainly goes to different kinds of time trial riders. And a very good example, I think, would be Filippo Ganna, who is an exceptional athlete. He's so powerful. He would be mind-blowingly good in Zwift, if I may say so. And he's very good on flat and power time trials. But when it comes to uphills, I think his race weight is, nudging toward 90 kilos. And he just can't have that power differential and hold on to it on time trials with significant climbs on them. In saying that, someone like Rowan Dennis always fits in the middle. And so if he is on absolute form and carrying no fatigue, he may be able to get over the climbs, but often it will come as too much a sacrifice. So the way he would pace it is to be quite conservative to the bottom of the climb and then hang on up it. But by doing that, you actually lose the benefit of what you can produce through that bottom section and the advantage. So to a degree, you almost have to take a risk that you ride solidly until the bottom of the climb as if that were the finish line, and then cross your fingers and hope for the best on the climb and see if you can just hang on to the advantage that you have gained and muscle through it. Incidentally, I think based on some of his quotes, he was incapable of doing that.
Right.
It was not a pleasant experience for him, but I believe that he did that. He went as hard as he, tried to get an advantage on that flat to see if he could hold on for it. And yes, it didn't work out for him. And so at the beginning of the evening, Anna, when we said, try also not to vomit, I would suggest that Rowan did once or twice, and maybe before he even finished.
Oh God,
yeah,
he
day.
looked.
So it is
not good at the end, I've got to say.
No, look, these are the kinds of events, and it's not limited to individual teams time trials, but certainly teams time trials as well, where it can sneak up on you, where you feel okay, and because you're feeling okay, the team's doing well, and you're feeling confident, you may just go a little bit over what is your sustainable max. And then when you start going to the red zone, you're still holding the wheel, and so you keep going with it. And the same can be said for if you're in a team where they're struggling a bit and you're feeling reasonably good and trying to be the one to push a little bit harder. And I'm really interested to know your experience, especially from time trial, because of triathlons, Anna. But typically, you can only go deep enough in a time trial if you're feeling good. If you're not feeling good and you're not going fast, it hurts, but you're not able to really go deep enough to do that damage, like what we're talking about with Rowan Dennis, or when we quarter jokingly talk about the potential to make yourself vomit. And I think that that's an interesting one. And I don't say that lightly, by the way. Like, I think that making oneself physically ill by exertion is both wonderful and mortifying at the same time. But that is the beautiful nature of time trialing, I think, where you can go that deep, and then it's the mental power. So there'll be a lot of mental games going on amongst riders across every division, trying to find their threshold that they're riding at, and then just nudge it a bit and see how much further they can go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that quite a few teams come out. I mean, we're looking at Aero here on the left-hand side, and they are looking phenomenal. They've got a great single line going on. They're very, very Aero. But I know people who go out and do these TTTs each week as a way to really build their threshold, because they so don't want to let the team down that they push numbers that are really high, way higher than they'd be able to go and do if they're just doing an over-under session off by themselves. So, I can attest to throwing up. Last week, I decided to do a 1 minute effort off the front, see how I could stack up. Actually set my best 1 minute power ever, if I do say so myself.
Oh,
but
good on you.
Unfortunately, had chosen a very, very bad nutrition choice. I didn't have any gels. I had nothing in the cupboard apart from baking chocolate. So I was just nibbling away on baking chocolate. Felt really ill. And then one of the girls on my team said, baking chocolate doesn't even have sugar in it. It's just fat and cocoa. So yeah, not a good choice for anyone out there. And in the last sprint, I got dropped like a sack of potatoes and then was just heaving over my handlebars for the rest of the race. So got to say, don't pick the wrong nutrition if we're looking at a good team time trial strategy too. Get something like gels or little lollies. Don't grab the baking chocolate.
Well, it is. Now, that's an interesting point you raise, because the best time trialists it's not just about their physical ability, it's about their mental capacity and ability. I don't mean their IQ. Although, in saying that, a lot of the world's best and, going back quite a degree of time trialers on an international level, both road cyclists and even triathletes, are a little bit mad. Like, they are really an interesting personality that is so fascinating. A lot of them are very, very intelligent and just data driven. But one of their real attributes is the ability to train hard and to do those time trial efforts and push themselves beyond those thresholds that you just mentioned is sometimes only possible to do during racing. Now, Zwift has kind of changed the benchmark on that, because riders can now, I would say, have a little bit less self-motivation, because they can jump on here and have people, an effective training buddy all the time, where previously you were a lot more reliant on yourself and your own mental strength to be able to do that. But I do think that some of the best time trialists, it is about what they can do when they're on their own, because we know that it's not just about what happens once the starter's gun goes, but it's about their intrinsic ability to suffer and be comfortable with that, replicate that, and then ultimately come to a peak in performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing here that these crews here have just gone over the hard part of the climb. Seeing a bit of chat coming in that the B ladies are not looking as streamlined as some of these A men. They're a bit more of a blob structure. That is right. However, there is something I find is when you're in the A category, sort of at this level we're seeing with Aero, and we're looking at NZ Bro here on the left now, is the sort of power differential isn't massive, so it's easier to stay in a straight line. In the B category, you could have quite a vast difference in power profile. And what that could mean is just staying in the straight line. If on the flat you're sort of pushing 280 and your teammate is pushing 180, it's very hard to be able to stay in a line and not sort of be creeping up on each other. So I think maybe sometimes that's what we see here a little bit. Again, we've got the Smile On crew. They've crested the hill pretty well. Looks like they've got about 17 seconds in the bank. We'll start to pull up some of the splits when they come in so we can see how this is looking. NZ Bro men on the left-hand side. Might just keep the women and the men up for a while just because it's good to see how each are looking. And the NZ Bro, they've got Team Aero in their sights. Looks like about 12 seconds off the pace there.
And I apologise in advance. My small humans are giggling at something, and it is a delightful noise, but I'm not sure if it's filtering through. And I assure all of the racers, they are not giggling at your suffering. I promise you that. Now, it is interesting what you talk about with regards to the amount of power and the blob versus the straight line. And it is certainly also the case, isn't it, Anna, that with the algorithm, the drafting algorithm in Zwift, it's a little bit different to in real life. And I believe my daughter's auditioning to be an opera singer based on what I just heard. Nice. I don't know if you heard that. Is that the drafting in-game is a bit different to in real life. And so you will sometimes see a bit more of a blob strategy being effective when riders in different categories, and it's also just their racing experience regardless of what category they're in. And I say that specifically because we have some exceptionally talented and physically capable riders in A who don't have a lot of race experience, but who don't yet have the pacing nailed. So pacing is something that some people honestly never get. Very, very few people start with the ability to do it. And then some people pick it up along the way, but not everybody. I want to point to somebody in Aero, and we've got NZ Bro on screen at the moment, but in Aero we've got Nick Scolari, who's in Velo Kicks on the screen. Now, he's the kind of rider who I've previously said would be very surprised if he doesn't at some day give the hour record a crack. He's a very good time trialist, has been for years, and his kind of secret skill and why I believe he was very successful whenever he jumped on a time trial bike is he has a really intrinsic ability to pace. That comes in exceptionally handy in a team because one of the things that can make or break a team and their team performance is surging. And especially power riders, anybody who's good with a sprint, you often, if you've done a lot of bunch racing, you would probably not even really appreciate how variable your power is just constantly. It moves up and down. To hold quite a consistent power and speed, because it's not just about power, including over lumps and bumps, is quite a difficult thing to do. And when you have a rider in your team who is able to do that, it does create a better flow where the riders can ride more in a line than in a blob, because it's less risky, if you will, that the pace is going to be fairly consistent and nobody needs to be too concerned about that surging. There will be some teams who never really nail that, and it is just far more efficient for them to blob along than it is to try and form this kind of beautiful pace line.
Oh, they look
But what
great,
we
don't
also
they?
just saw Nick Scolari having to jump in behind Harvey and in front of Partridge Madsen. Now that shows experience again, because I believe Partridge Madsen could have definitely bridged that gap, but Scolari in this example saw the gap, jumped in there to make sure that nobody had to do any chasing or waste any energy. Now that the gap did close up a bit, he then dropped himself back. So you need these riders who can keep everybody calm and comfortable. I'd be really interested actually to listen to the difference in their communication in a team's time trial versus in a bunch race, because I would expect that your Mark O'Briens or Sam Hill would be a bit more road captain in a bunch race, but that in this scenario it would actually be Scolari who could be a very good voice for pacing and motivation and a bit of strategy. So
Yeah.
I do think that both Aero and NZ Bro have done exceptionally well when it comes to pivoting for teams' time trials. DPAC have always put in really great performances, but they're only with 4 here, and that's got to hurt. Like, that has to have an impact.
Yeah, this looks pretty hard on them. They're sort of hemorrhaging time here a little bit. You can see 11:04. Looks like, is that for real? The Masaka Cycling Club that we've talked about before, sitting on, it looks maybe not quite correct there at that first time check. We'll have to check that out. I'd be a little bit surprised if they're that far in front of Team Aero. But looking at DPAC Elite, 11:04. So yeah, they've already about 25 seconds behind Aero. So that is not ideal. Not sure what's happened with Morgan here. This is what I'm talking about. Look at the surgy move off here. You're just beginning to wonder what he might be doing. And look at Masaka. What is going on here? They are riding out of their skins, unless they've just been passed by, they might have just been passed by DPAC, but this is nice riding from the Masaka crew. But looking back at DPAC, this is unusual for them. Not great up this little climb coming out of the sort of Watopia downtown. Got very split up, and there's still a draft benefit. It's only a 3% gradient, so they still could do this as a drafting formation like we saw with Team Aero, but they didn't really get on top of that. So a little bit disappointing for them. I don't think they're sort of having the race that they want to. They're also in a really bad spot if someone has a technical, and they already dropped a Vola off the back as well. So yeah, can't say that this is the usual DPAC that we'd see.
No, I mean, they had a great week last week. Sam Lindsay was back to the brilliance, wasn't he, as was Fabian Devola. Yeah, Devola's more of a sprinter, but I think it would be fair to say that today is a bit of an off day. But it is interesting, actually, when you look at groups like this, where you know that each one is so capable. From Pacheco to Morgan, Lindsay, Devola, these are all names that have individually put their hands up and been incredibly successful. But together something is not going well tonight, and we just have to see if Masaka is catching them or being caught. But it looks to me like they're catching them. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that, because that would be a turn up for the books. This is they're very new to this category, but this would be amazing. Excellent. Let's see how that goes. And over on in The women, Anna, we'll take a look at the splits when they pop up. But we are definitely seeing a very nice, smooth TBR team. I'm going to hasten to say I think they could go faster. I think that if they, I do, like, I know how capable all of these riders are, especially Lucy and Kim KS.
Oh my gosh,
So
look at those
I think
splits,
that,
Katie.
wow, look at
Raven
that. Oh, how
Bees.
close that is.
Raven Bees is, I did actually think, I
Wow.
saw they only had 5 riders, but I saw they were catching up so much time on AHDRL ahead of them. Look at that, AHDRL only 22 seconds ahead. I'm just wondering if I can get, they're in a bit of a sort of twisty-turny part of the course, but wow, that is a very, very tight battle between these. And with only 5 riders, phenomenal from this crew of ladies. This is epic work as they're approaching the Italian village. You can just see on that mini map in the top right, the little green dots are Team AHDRL in front, and they've actually dropped a rider. They've dropped Tracy, so it will be 5v5. They're going to round this corner, and they're probably going to start to get them in their sights. We might stick with these ladies when this pass is made. The next climb is coming up. That will be the Zwift KOM, so it's the very steep one they used in the World Champs last year. That is just after 20 kilometres, so about 22 kilometres. So we'll get the side-by-sides up for that as well, but it'll be interesting to see this pass of the women. And you just tend to go a bit faster when you see that gap in front coming down so much. They're going to see Tracy around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, it's pretty motivating, especially for the Raven Bees. Now, and we can see the 3-1-2 minutes behind their name, which just shows their starting order. So Raven Bees started the day as the third favourite team, if you will, but they're, showing that that's not necessarily the case. But what I do like about what we're seeing with them, conscious that time split is so close, so 30k in total, so 8k is a good starter, but they're going to have to keep the pace up if they want to keep that going, is that they're not too tightly packed. And the reason I like that is it might be easy to look at them and go, gee, they're a bit of a dog's breakfast, but it means that they're pushing the pace a little bit so that they can't really blob, because even if they're not in that beautiful straight line, they are actually working hard enough that the pace is on. It's a good move by Smith to jump out of the seat and make sure she does jump straight back on that wheel. You don't want that gap to open up too much, but you can tell that these riders are really pushing themselves and pushing the pace. And it might be a case of TBR having to jettison 1 or 2 riders in order to really get the pace going that they want to. And I may say that I was saying before we saw these time splits, Anna, that I felt that TBR can go faster. And I'm wondering if they haven't got into their rhythm yet because they perhaps had a strategy where they didn't want to drop anybody until X
Yeah, exactly.
number of kilometres.
Yeah, I think maybe they had a strategy there. They've dropped Tracy, but now they have picked up the pace a little bit. Sometimes that does happen. So sometimes you are holding back a little because you're sort of dropping a rider off the back. And sometimes you've just got to make the decision to cut them loose because it's maybe better for the team. And we're kind of seeing that. It's now hovering around 18 seconds, not coming down as much as it was before. Tracy is just getting past now. She'll know the deal. She'll know to drop her watts way down, not jump on the tail of these guys. But I'm looking at this fade pink to red yellow kit, and it's giving me a little reminder of SD Works and some questionable tactics that I've been seeing lately. Katie, I did want to pick your brains on that. I know this is in real life, but it's I'm finding it very interesting in the women's cycling. The team tactics, which we do see on Zwift as well, but what's going on with those team tactics, do you think? SD Works used to be pretty dominant on the road with Anna van der Breggen, and now not so much.
Well, I presume that part of that question is that some of the tactics we've been seeing is that you aren't necessarily sure who the team leader even is, and it looks at some moments as though they're chasing each other and nullifying the effects of some attacks. I mean, I think there is a time of transition for the team. Anna van der Breggen is now the team director. She's stepped away from racing. And I also think that there is a turning point, and we've seen this in this community league as well, especially with the teams that have gone up to Prem and who are now stepping back just because Prem isn't on right at the moment, is that when you are successful for so long, people start to get a bit braver because they start to think often when they're racing, what have we got to lose? If we don't do something differently and be a bit more audacious in our tactics, we know what will win. We know who will win and how it will play out. And I think that's all catching up with SD Works a little bit. And in response, they are trying to up the ante a bit in the way that they race and in the way that they have always shown quite a lot of agility in their tactics. And when I say that, Anna, I mean that they have always been known to be so confident that they could win that they would bring back breaks where they're represented, where you would probably look at it and say, why wouldn't they back that rider to win? They could definitely win, maybe not 100%, but definitely in with a shot. But SD Works ride with the kind of confidence where they go, no, we know that we can 100% win and we will put ourselves in the best position to do so. But I think that the playing field has leveled a bit and they're trying those same tactics, but it's just not working out in the same way. For Anna van der Breggen, this will be quite an education for her because she's stepped into the director's shoes, and a lot of the race tactics she will be calling will be ones that worked for her. Yeah. And she's now going to have to really consider what else they may do. And I know that you've both raced, of course you race in the Zwift leagues, but you've also done a little bit of directing. And I'm curious, Anna, in your experience with not only directing and racing yourself, but also with your teammates, what do you do when you are in a position where the tried and tested tactic just doesn't work anymore?
Yeah, and I think, so one thing I've learned from, racing and then DSing and then coming back to racing is I was putting a lot of pressure on some of the teammates to push a lot of power that, sometimes isn't possible. And I think sometimes you look at, and Anna van der Breggen, who was the best, and she's trying to DS a team, and she may think, just roll off the front, just go attack off the front. Like, why couldn't you do that? And I think that is where sometimes a rider doesn't make the best DS either. You need someone who knows all the strengths and weaknesses of the team and can sort of they're not a superhuman. So they've come from, maybe they're more of an average rider. I know DSing my team, I was like, just attack off the front, just ride another 50 watts off the front. Come on, you can do it. And then realizing, that was actually making them really ill and it was really hard. So I'm not sure, riders make the best DSs, but in saying that, then they kind of have an understanding of what the athletes are doing as well. I'd be interested to know who's DSing the Aero team. I would like next season to actually bring in the DSs into the feed, kind of like we see with Formula One.
I would love that, yeah.
The only issue we have a bit, I was actually, because I'm in the NZ Bro channel, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just bring them in. There's often a lot of swearing. And so we'd have to, be saying to the team, okay, we're going to bring you in. We're going to bring you in. We're seeing Aero here going up this Zwift K, and they're still looking smooth as butter.
This is a lovely example, isn't it? And I like Partridge Madsen just says, I'm in a bit of trouble, which is great communication because they have the decision to say, no, we need him. Like he may be struggling on the climb, but we need him down the other side. And they wait, or they may go, Godspeed, you've done a great ride. Thanks for the effort, and not wait and see whether he can get back on over the top. It looks a bit like that for now. However, they're very close to the top, and I think as long as there's no surge over the top, that they may hustle back. Can we just look at this split time, please? Because Masaka, wow, this is...
I know, it's interesting, right? I'm kind of... Is it real? Like, this would be the upset of the season if Masaka is actually riding this hard. It would be good to, I'll pop back to them. I just want to see all the teams as they're coming up this climb. So it's quite a good view because you might see some of the teams approaching the climb if they're close enough behind, which in this case, they're not for NZ Bro. It's about 2 minutes back to Deepak, who's having a struggle street of a race tonight. Looking at NZ Bro coming around the corner, this is quite a hard climb. It pitches up to about 14% at the start, then goes around this corner and then sort of goes to 7% and then kind of flattens off near the end. So you really are wanting to have someone pace it. It looks like Tabalong is pacing this crew, and someone, who is that? Kay here. Well, that is cracked. He has absolutely cracked. Look at that. I've never seen an Avatar cycle so slow.
Talking about for Rowan Dennis. I think this is the visual representation. I feel like you need to take a screenshot here.
Oh,
this
that is
the visual
slow.
representation of a blown fufu valve.
Oh, look at that. Look at that cadence.
Like he's under 2 watts per kg, and he's just kind of warming down at this time. Do you think that his fufu valve has anything to do with that visor he's wearing?
It is, like, and the no socks.
They're linked.
I mean, it hasn't helped him. I've got to say that. That hasn't been ideal. And just 49 cadence there. I mean, whew, it's low.
Yeah, that's done. I mean, that's there we go. Look, we're not 100% saying it's your lack of socks in your visor, but I'm just saying don't try that again next week, and let's just see what happens.
Oh, man.
NZ Bro. Now, let's just talk about Masaka for a second.
I'll go back and find them. Here we go.
Yeah, let's go find them. Gee, they're looking good.
But they're 25 seconds behind Deepak. So something's gone on here, I think, because like we said, they're looking smooth. They look good. They've got orange trons, orange kit. But, I think something might be a little bit awry because they're still 28 seconds behind Deepak, so they're not catching them. And Aero Masters is only 27 seconds behind. So I think maybe we will look at that result being a little bit off. So I will say that Aero is leading. It looks like World Elite Zwift is 8 seconds back. NZ Bro then coming in with Deepak Elite after them. That would make a little bit more sense. Masaki trying to stay together. Look at that view though. You can see just off in the distance, you've got Aero Masters with, I think it's an Olympic rower, is that not?
Who have we got?
Ginn?
Drew Ginn, yes. Well,
yes.
A gold medalist.
Sorry, not just an Olympian. That's a medalist.
Not just an Olympian. He's like a national hero.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, you know all about him.
Yeah,
but he's
right.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
An Olympic gold medalist, Drew
Ginn.
So he's looking good. Masaka's dropped 2 riders off the back, so they could have just started extremely fast. The Masters team here is still looking pretty good. Aero, they've got the Prem team, and they've got this Masters team. What constitutes a Master? I mean, how old are we looking here? Hopefully, I've seen a few beards.
I mean, technically, look, by UCI standard, over 30, which is somewhat mortifying, given that Valverde is performing how he is and he's 41, 42, then fair to say that, that's not everybody's definition. But I would suggest over 40 is what I'm going to throw out there. Certainly, possibly Nick Scolari, but I'm not sure how old Nick is. Nick, apologies if you're not 40. I'm sorry. But otherwise, I would say the other Aero team are definitely younger than I know some of these riders are. But I don't know. Good question. I mean, Masters, are we talking about age, though? Or are we talking
just
about
a master of Zwift? You're just
master. I mean, or is it the level 50 guys? I mean, there's just so many ways you could interpret that. How
true.
rude of me to go straight to age.
I know. On the women's side, Raven Bees have passed AHDRL now. So I think Raven Bees would probably be first they're not first on the road, but I think they're first on the leaderboard. Looking very
a great ride.
Very well. We have actually had a few comments coming in saying, wow, they're having a great ride. So yes, Kate agrees with you. They are having a great ride. Just looking, have they dropped a rider? They're only down to 4 now, it looks like. So they've dropped someone.
I'm jumping into Zwift Power to take a look at how these guys are going. So Rave, yes, we are down to 4, aren't we? We are down to...
Oh, Alexander's dropped. Alexander has dropped.
Right. We are down to Sharon, Kale.
Oh, Gina Van Rossum.
And Van Rossum. We know that Gina's been sensational, especially in the sprints of late. So we've got Julie Kale is still there, Rachel Smith, so an Irish rider, and Aussie. It's like a joke. Here we go. What happens when a Dutch, an Aussie, a Brit, a Kiwi, and a German walk into a bar? Well, this is what you get. So this is also the team of Claudia Henneken, who we discussed last week. We've got Sarah Alexander, who is not enjoying this ride at the moment, but what a contribution she made. So we need to also remember with Rave that they've had such a great ride that they have lost one or two riders, but strategically, what a sensational way to get some runs on the board. So they've only got 6.5 odd kilometres left to go, and they're clicking along at very solid pace. This is a part of the course, if people can recall from that little course preview that we had, where they do get a little bit of respite. And there's a few little kickers to come, but then it is largely rolling and flat toward the end. So if they get over that KOM at the 22.5 kilometre mark, which they are, it is a significantly easier ride home from there.
Oh, I have got to say too, though, I'm just going to pull this up on screen and then I'm going to hit a button. We just about missed it. I think we just about missed it there. Got a little bit carried away. So I've just had a quick little thought. We've got them up on screen. That's what made me think of it. I'm going to actually give it to Team Aero on the men's side, the Premier Team Aero. Just their form has been outstanding. They are about 30 seconds ahead of NZ Bro at this point. They've been riding in a wonderful formation. They're just coming into the last parts of this race, and I've got to say they've been looking phenomenal. On the women's side, you can't take it away from Raven Bees tonight. A phenomenal race, passing teams all over the show. Started with just 5 riders, and they've now down to 4, but still absolutely smashing it. So there we go. Team Air on the men's side, Team Raven Bees on the women.
I like that. That is dual accomplishments there. And yes, I would agree. Both of the teams are having a great night. I've always been really impressed with how NZ Bro have stepped up in time trials compared to what they've done in the bunch races. That said, Anna, I think the tide has turned for them a bit because they've stepped up so much now in road racing and become such an active part of it that I no longer think it looks like there's a bit of a dropout for Hegarty, who just appeared to fall out of the sky like a I don't even like a what? I don't know. If anybody can fill the gap in there for me, that would be fantastic.
Like a drop bear? Fell out of the sky
like a drop bear. Yes, exactly. Google that, any non-Aussies, and then apologies if you can try and get to sleep tonight after doing so. But I think NZ Bro have now progressed to the point where we're not surprised by anything they do. So we're not looking at going like, oh, are they going to pull something amazing out? I think we just know how capable they are. John's story is one that we talk about a lot in terms of how capable he is, and when his racecraft catches up to his lung capacity and his power, it'll be pretty scary. I, for one, really want to see he and Drew Ginn go head-to-head. They were different kinds
battle of the rowers,
different boats. But I do feel like they were both very accomplished, and that could be quite an interesting battle for them. But they're struggling a bit. Now, Haggerty, was he our drop bear? I think he may have been.
Look at that, down to 0.8.
But is he potentially having any power problems, I'm wondering, given what we saw before? To what degree does blowing a foo-foo valve fall into a technical problem?
Oh, exactly. Wait.
I like that. And I love this. Yes,
this bike.
How
this
beautiful
bike.
Is it?
I've seen it on a few broadcasts now. I don't know how fast it is, but it looks beautiful. Like, it's just, it doesn't quite match the kit that I rock in the community league, so I can't use it just because it's got pastels, and my kit's more sort of like neon bright colours. But I like it. That bike is epic. So looking good, Haggerty. Even though you've dropped off the back, you're looking nice.
Yes, and look, that's half the battle. Um, Again, the visor from Monsieur here is perhaps from Kjell Gunnar Gerdal. How's that for my pronunciation? I
Nice.
might have to work on that. I apologise if I brutalised that, but it needs to ditch the visor. World Elite Zwifters, their kit's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
I've
they're
got to
looking
say,
nice. They're
while we're
looking
on the
nice.
fashion chat, yes.
Oh, exactly. They're racing well. They've had a bit of a refresh of their kit lately. They've all got the disc wheels. They're all matching on the Specialized Venge. A little bit of a tip, go to Zwift Insider because there's been a whole change of which bikes are the fastest. So you might just want to check
Ooh,
out yeah, which is good because it's back to the Specialized Venge. I was rocking the Chapter Toa for quite a while, but that has unfortunately been made a little bit heavier and not one that you probably want to ride for a course like this. But yeah, these guys looking great. Got the nice disc wheels going. I thought we'd just go back and have a look at some of the other crews out here. Got the Alien and
yes.
Battlers. I always like that Alien on these guys' kits.
I do too. That looks a bit funky, doesn't it? I do have a question about uh, what we talked about earlier with power ups and, a bit of a sudden change about lack of power ups. And I'm not on Facebook, but I'm wondering, Anna, if there was any controversy over on Facebook about it or something which led to a change. While I'm not on there, I like to live vicariously through people who are. So, I'm wondering if that's going on.
Um, I haven't seen anything. To be honest, the sort of esport news has been taken over this week by the purchasing of RGT by Wahoo. So that's an interesting thing that's happened in the esport world.
Ooh, what are
Yeah.
people's opinions? How's that going down?
Oh, well, it's a bit of a sort of, I guess it's just, it's like when different companies merge and you sort of look at where the industry's going. I
Mm,
think in general, it's a good thing for esport. I think you've got competition and that's always good for the end consumer. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how it goes. I mean, all it says to me is esports on the up and up. And as we're sitting here
mm.
commentating on computers covering esport, I think this is a good thing to see. But yeah, that's kind of been covering a little bit of the chat lately. If you want to have a listen to a bit more of that, the Zwiftcast covered it in quite a lot of detail, as did I think DC Rainmaker. But yeah, that was kind of a bit of the goss. I haven't seen much about the power-ups. That probably
Mm.
paled in significance to
Yes,
that kind
well, and
of...
I might add that Thomas Bach, I was about to call him the Prime Minister, the President of the International Olympic Committee, has been visiting Brisbane,
Mm.
um, for ahead of early site visits for the Brisbane 2032 Olympic Games. And word on the street, Anna, is that they were touring venues and locations for esport
Oh,
stadiums.
well, that
So
is
that
very
piqued my
interesting.
interest because I think cycling is certainly very, very high on the list in terms of existing Olympic sports that have an e platform. I think triathlon would be very high on that list as well, Anna. So that's a little bit exciting.
Yeah, that is quite cool. I ran a e-tri last year actually here in New Zealand, and yeah, it was quite fun. Set up some trainers next to a pool and some treadmills, and got out there, and everyone did a little bit of a triathlon. It was quite fun, quite a fun little format. So you can just sort of see with the way I'm going to be riding on the road this weekend. It's the first time I've ridden on the road in a very long time because I am a little bit scared of traffic, but we are going somewhere where there's not too much traffic. But yeah, with traffic kind of increasing and the cost of closing roads for events being high, you can see why so many people are interested in cycling in virtual worlds. So I think it's really cool. We are watching here on the left-hand side, the Alien Inc. crew is catching up to the NZ Bro Gandalfs. So they are about to make the pass. Unfortunately, because they've only got about 2.4k to go. So unfortunately for that NZ Bro team, they've been caught right at the final part, just on these S's. On the right, we're seeing Raven Bees coming in for their glorious ride. They got the 5k Hero Award and they've had an amazing effort tonight. Good job, Raven Bees.
Well, we're seeing over in the fellas, I'm just looking at a little bit of Zwift power. I also might note that there's a couple of riders with um, heart rates that are very close to 200, I really hope that they have a vomit bucket handy. Also, there should be like vomit bingo tonight. I don't think I've ever said that in a broadcast.
It's making me feel
times,
ill.
So I apologise, anybody. But their average powers, most of them are over 5 watts per kg, the aero guys. Like, holy moly. They have just absolutely blown it out of the water. Nearly a minute 44 back to NZ Bro.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, although we have to take off the minute differential of start, maybe, I don't know, but maybe it's 44 seconds. We'll see in the final, but that's a really significant gap they've got there. Now, interestingly, Masaka is still sitting in third here, based on, and actually looking at that as well, it might be about 44 seconds between Aero and NZ Bro, but the World Elite Zwifters and Masaka sitting very, very tight and close there, around 3 of them, the 31.5-minute mark. So Aero, the only team I think that, at the 24K mark to go under the 31 minutes, but yeah, about 38.5 minutes in total for the finishing time. So I'm very keen to see that leaderboard when we do get to the end, Anna, and see how that has all gone. And certainly in the women, it does look like there's been a bit of a shake-up this week from earlier weeks as well.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a shake-up. I'm just sort of seeing the results rolling in as I'm talking, and there's going to be a little bit to talk about in this men's field, that's for sure. So we'll hopefully get those up shortly once this racing is complete. Looking here at Alien Inc., they did get past NZ Bro, looks like it. No, they didn't actually. NZ Bro put in a final little effort to stay away. See Evo back here as well. They always look great out on course. But yeah, it's good racing all around, I've got to say. In this course, it's stuck together more than I thought.
Kit bike combo, I have to say that. Like the Trons and the kit look fantastic here. I really want to unpack Masaka, and I feel as though looking at the results that have come in, there may be some people who are surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And perhaps thinking, oh, curious. I don't know the veracity of these results yet, but without knowing them, what I will say is that Zwift provides the most incredible platform for pure athletes to emerge.
Yeah.
When you talk about in real life racing, there are so many things that go into opportunity, development, of an athlete being able to even get on the start line, let alone perform well. When you're talking about esports, the accessibility is ramped up to a degree that you can get pure athletes, put them on a bike, get them a little bit fit, and in an event like a team's time trial, they can perform.
Yeah.
And it is more than possible, given the incredible amount of talent coming off the African continent, untapped, I might add, that they do have this level of talent when it comes to just pure physicality, because that is what we were talking about in this kind of event. If they spend the vast majority of their time training on this platform, learning how to ride together, and they do just have these incredible physical attributes, there really is no reason why they couldn't perform to that level. So again, let's see where the results wash up. But it does not surprise me. It will never surprise me when some of the African talent gets unearthed. I think if they had the same opportunities as the young Aussies or Kiwis, it would be a similar trajectory for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a good point. We are seeing Mon Rich, one of your favourites, coming here from the ZWC Allies. But yeah, I think this kind of platform, it just also, I saw One rider interviewed from the Women's Peloton saying that for Aussies and Kiwis, this platform is actually really good because it's a lot easier to get recognised through the academy programs and get onto those European teams.
Absolutely.
The pathway's just a bit easier. So I think, so many benefits. I do just want to touch on a comment I've seen come in from Gina Van Rossum, because I can actually answer it. So she said, now I know I've got that taste of iron in my mouth. Now, I had the taste of iron in my mouth last week, and I said to my team...
Metallic.
Yeah, I was like, I've got a metallic taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And we've got a doctor on the team, and she said, that's because you've worked so hard that you've actually burst little blood capillaries in your lungs. And so you get, like, when you're breathing in and out, you're getting a kind of taste of blood, basically. So there we go, Gina Van Rossum. You obviously had quite the effort.
No vom, but bleeding from the lungs. So I would...
There we go.
I mean, it's kind of curious in a slightly sick way, but that you push yourself just so hard and then you're really fascinated by the results. But I do recall a feature from every track racer or time trialist would have experienced at some point, where it's called colloquially a pursuiter's cough, where you finish that kind of pursuit effort and you cough like you have emphysema and you half lose your voice. And a lot of the time we ended up having like liquid glycerin to kind of line your throat a bit so that you didn't end up coughing so much and losing your voice. And that's simply because of how heavily you are breathing through your mouth.
Wow.
Because of the pure effort and how little nose breathing you're doing at that intensity. And because in a road race you're very rarely at that level of intensity for too long, so you do a lot more nose breathing and it's a lot more comfortable. And I always found that a real constant, was this sounding like you were quite unwell, and you're always like, no, I'm good, I just did a pursuit. And they'd be like, that's it. So look, there's a level of healthy endeavour that everybody's undertaking, and perhaps a level of maybe
not so healthy,
balanced and healthy. But you know what? We're all friends here. I think we're all on.
Exactly.
On
I've told
paths.
everyone I watch YouTube clips on boat disasters. So this is the last team coming in now. We'll just watch them sprint to the finish, because I always like a good little sprint on these Tron bikes. We'll come back to us, and then I have seen the results come in, and we'll quickly go through some of those. And then that'll be all us. We're on to next week's racing. But what did you think about tonight?
Yeah, all us. Let's take a look at some of these results, though, because we did, and we do every single time in a team's time trial, I might add, have something pop up a little bit different to what we've seen before. Now, Raven Bees this week, Anna, what a great ride from them. Good on you, ladies. Great to see, only starting with 5 as well. I did have a look at the start list. It looked like Claudia Henneken was meant to start and didn't.
She had she couldn't get into the race, I think. So she was all in her gear and then couldn't get in. I hate that.
Oh, that's frustrating. Well, that says even more then, because for them to do that incredible performance, knowing that a rider like Henneken is frustratingly stuck in the pens, incredible. TBR smile on. We love you, ladies. You guys are always such great performers, and another really good example tonight. Like I said to Anna earlier on, I reckon you can go faster. So, back yourselves and let's see that effort next time. The Bullet's always the ever consistent force in this grade, and great to see them have another good ride.
And looking over at the men's side, so this is where it's a little bit interesting. Aero, they took that out. I'm not surprised. They looked great that whole race. 6 riders. The World Elite Zwifters with 5 riders took it out over NZ Bro Frodo's. So we did see a couple of NZ Bro riders really blow the valve there at the end, down to sort of 40.
Blow the valve.
40.
I feel like we need to find some synonyms to try and describe that week in and week out.
Oh, I know. But then Masaka Cycling Club. Now, this is quite interesting. So they're new to the game. We've heard a lot about them. Kate talked about them in the broadcast. Amazing results. So if that stands, that is phenomenal. A minute 25 behind Team Aero, premier team on Zwift. So great job. DPAC Elite in 5th. Aero Masters in 6th. DPAC, actually, that's better than I thought. They were down to 4 riders there. Team ZWC, they're in 7th. The Ink Alien Battlers in 8th. Evo Barbarians in 9th, and Enzero Gandalf in 10th, and we've got an 11th place here too, which we don't usually have. That's that's interesting.
No.
Hey there. Hey there, Peter.
Hello.
So Peter Z Vividor A's have been there for the 11th place. That's great to see an 11th place sneak in.
Yeah, hey there, 11th. Yeah, some great results there. And I did just look up, Anna, and I always do have a different coloured pen, so I feel like we could have a little bit of bingo about what colour my pen might be next week. That next week they're going to Innsbruck. So sprinters, your time is done. Maybe kick back next week and see how you go on the run-in, but it does finish on that climb. And we have seen that before, and it was such a spicy race, wasn't it? With all of the attacks on the climbs. There are a lot of mushroom clouds happening as riders well and truly blew their foo-foo valves. Now we are going to get some synonyms for that. If anybody wants to drop in the comments some alternate ways we can describe such, we will take that on board. So you can see how we go for it. Yeah, but Anna, big shout out to the Masaka team, because I just think what a way to really put their hands up and show what they're capable of. And ahead of the Giro, we have a couple of African riders represented there, so that is very exciting.
When does that start? Is that this weekend?
2 days? It must be Saturday.
Oh, that's great.
So not too many more sleeps. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We are here in some capacity with the this racing.
Just in general?
Just in general.
We're here in some capacity.
No. If Anna's not too busy watching her shipwreck videos, and I can't find any nice lawns that need mowing or pools that need renovating. This week's round finishes in America West in about 18 hours. So if you are keen to jump on some of the broadcasts and have a chat with the community or have a look, please do that. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Climbers, we're looking at you. And are you racing tomorrow, Anna?
Yes, I am. Yep. And then also doing those the Zwift test series, which is quite fun. So those are on Thursday morning our time. So yeah, it'll be a fun back-to-back of racing.
All right. Well, good luck with that, and no bike changes this week, please. I think we can have a week off though. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next week.